the man, the myth, the legend, Richard E. Anderson. How you doing, Rich? I mean, doggone it. Oh, I was on the
Hey,
phone.
hey, to be fair, you're the first person to ever call me Richard. So even though I'm Rico, but hey, I'll.
Hey everyone, welcome to A Planetary Diary, the Making of a Fan series. I'm your host, Eric Moran, and today our special guest, this gentleman here, he's appeared in some of the biggest films around like Star Trek 2009. He's appeared on shows like SWAT, and he also appeared not only on so many films and movies and voice acting, video games, but he appeared in the first season of the Orville. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the man, the myth, the legend, Rico E. Anderson. What's going on, Rico?
Woo! I'm great, Eric. It's great to be here, baby. Great to see you again, man.
All right. Rico, I'm going to get ready to ask you right off the gate. Tell a little bit to the audience about, your humble beginnings, what got you started in the world of acting.
Well, I'll say off the bat, I've wanted to be an actor ever since I was a little boy. And I remember always watching TV, and I watched a lot of TV as a kid, as most of us did as kids. But always being drawn towards the representation that was us, as far as African Americans, and our presence on television. And it wasn't that it was just great to see us, but it was always something in the back of my mind that was always saying, man, that looks so fun. I think that's something that I would love to do. I would love to do what they're doing. And I started to seeing us in all the different aspects of life, just living our lives, from playing cops to playing husbands to playing in space, sci-fi and stuff like that. And then I was just like, man, I would love to, I think that's something I would love to do one day. And later on, when I was around a teenager, I started taking acting classes, and I started really getting into it more. And I realized that this is actually something that I want to do in life, and it's literally been embedded in me the whole time. And it's just always been a thing where, whenever I saw us on TV, I always loved seeing us represented, but I always felt like things could have been better in terms of how we were represented. And I knew over time, eventually, those changes would happen, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I always had in my mind that this is something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to cover all aspects of it. From, I've done plays, I've done musicals, I've done, when I started doing films, I did a lot of independent films, a lot of dramas, a couple of comedies. Wasn't so funny in the comedies in the beginning, but just really wanting to work my way towards making it to Hollywood and pursuing my career there. And so eventually that's what I ended up doing. But I started off in the Bay Area. I did a lot of independent films, a lot of different plays. I was a part of a few theater companies, took a lot of classes, and just learned my craft. And really, I studied at San Francisco State, studied theater arts there, and just really wanted to learn all about what the craft was and what my place in this business would be. And I don't think you ever stop learning that or discovering that, but I knew I had a place in this industry, and I wanted in. That's one of my biggest sayings, I want in. And eventually I made that move to Los Angeles, and it just grew from there. And from that, I've been able to do voiceover work. I've been able to continue to do theater. I don't do as much theater as I used to, but I always try to keep my foot planted in that genre as much as I can, even if it's just doing readings, because I love theater. I mean, that's the root of all of what we do in this industry. But yeah, I've been really blessed to have had a lot of film work and television work, and it's still going, man. It's still happening.
What was the most pivotal role that really had you like to a point where you were like, oh my God, I finally made it?
There's a couple answers on that one. This business is very interesting because there's so many ways of making it per se, and there's so many definitions of that. Making it doesn't always necessarily mean that you're the star of a TV series. Making it could literally mean, in terms of how this business is run, that you've started auditioning more, you've started booking more, and sometimes your bookings could be co-star roles, which are under 5 roles, which maybe you're on screen and you're off, and you blink, people miss you. But it's still a very important booking to have, because you're growing your resume and you're showing that it's kind of like you're paying your dues. So you grow, and eventually you start getting some of the bigger roles, and you're seen for and considered for more of those bigger parts. And one of those roles was a role that I played in Young and Hungry, which was a show on Freeform. It starred Emily Osment and Jonathan Sadowski and Kim Whitley and Rex Lee. And I played a character named Marco, and it was one of my first guest starring roles, and it was in a comedy. Because remember, I said earlier, I didn't think I was so funny in some of the early comedies. But it was so challenging because I got a chance to really tap into that comedy side that I was not honestly 100% confident about, but I wanted to do it because I love a challenge, and I feel like as an actor you should be able to do everything, even if you're the most serious actor.
Right.
Even if you're Pacino or De Niro, you should be able to rock some comedy. And they both have, and they both rocked it. So, and so anyway, I played this character named Marco, and that was a really challenging one. And but I think I did okay because I got some great reviews from it, and it's actually led to some other comedy works as well. Another one I would have to say, because of my love of the genre, was when I first played or booked the role of Boros in Star Trek Renegades, which is this handsome gentleman right behind me. This gentleman right here,
Yes.
with the reptilian features and the dreadlock hair.
Yes.
So my love of sci-fi, again, ever since I was a little kid, started to come to fruition when I booked the role of Boros. And Tim Russ, who plays Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager, cast me directly for the role. And that was an honor because obviously I knew Tim's work from Star Trek, and him holding it down for being a Vulcan, but also being the first upfront black Vulcan to hold it down like Leonard Nimoy did during the original series. So that was a big deal, and that was a huge honor to be able to work with Tim. And when I found out who else was in the cast to work with everyone else, because what was so great about Star Trek Renegades was it was literally a who's who of people, not only in Star Trek, but also in sci-fi itself.
Right.
You have people from all different genres, from Star Wars to Blade Runner, oh my gosh, to, just so many different, Terminator, Edward Furlong. So, that was great. So that on a personal, heartfelt, nerdy level was another big accomplishment for myself. And I've had other ones, but those are the two ones that really stand out the most.
When you first got a chance to see something of your work on the screen, whether it was in the movie theater, whether it was on TV, how did that make you feel?
I was happy that I accomplished something that I've been dreaming of ever since I was a little boy. Also scared because I think this is just that insecurity that we all have as actors. How do I look? How do I sound? Why did I act? Why did I do that scene that way? Ooh, what was I thinking? But overall, it felt great, man, because I did it. I did something that I set out to do, and it felt good. I remember the first time my mom came to see me at a movie that I did at a film festival, and she saw it, and she was just, proud mom, and that to me was everything. I mean, you know, if I never did anything after that, the fact that I made my mama proud was everything to me, and still is to this day. Um, but yeah, man, I felt good. But like I say, sometimes we're our worst critics, and we look at each other on screen, and we're just like, oh God, what was I thinking? Um, but in the bigger picture, I felt good, man. I felt very accomplished, and honestly, at the risk of sounding conceited, I felt that I could I could go any I could go further than that. I I love the fact that people laughed when they were supposed to laugh. People were affected when they were supposed to be affected. That I was able to draw out the emotions or affect people the way they were supposed to be affected. I felt like I did my job, and I felt like I was on the right track, and I felt like I represented us well, um, and I felt like I contributed well to that representation, because representation matters. And when people see me on screen, I want them to see themselves. I don't care I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Latino. I want you to see a part of yourself. But especially for little black boys and black girls, to see that representation on screen is very important, because when I was a little boy, I saw that representation, and it made me want to do what I'm doing today. And so I want to be that type of representation where kids can see me as well. And just a really quick thing, I think of Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace,
Yeah.
who had that effect on a lot of us, especially little black kids. When Black Panther came out, there was this video that that was circulating around the internet when Black Panther came out, and it was doing really well at the box office. These two little black kids, they just came out of seeing Black Panther, and they saw this poster of Black Panther, and everybody in the movie was on the poster, and the kids were like, "That's me! No, that's me! That's me!"
Yep. I remember.
That says, yeah, that says everything, because they're seeing themselves, and they're seeing a positivity that maybe they don't fully understand it at their young age, but it will hopefully carry on as they get older and become whoever they wish to be. So it's important, and I love the fact that I'm a part of that. I do it for myself. I do it for my mom, as I say, but I do it for my family, and I do it for people. I also do it for my nieces and nephews, because I want them to see Uncle Rico as doing something cool and positive, and my brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I know how that is. So, and
yeah,
representation matters in so many major ways, and especially now more than ever, because of everything that's going on in the world. We need as many positive figures, and for people to see that, especially people of color, it is monumental when people see that. They're like, oh my God, it's one of us that's doing something, whether it's out outer space. I remember when Avery Brooks was playing Captain Cisco, and that was monumental because he was also a single dad,
yes,
raising a son. And how often do you see that? And that was
right.
important. So yes, when you're playing roles that affects the next generation to want to
Mhm.
inspire them to do more, that speaks in volumes. So
Well, also, Eric, on just piggybacking off of that, when you
right.
have someone like, and I'm really glad that you brought up the DS9 and Avery Brooks and the character that he did play, because that was very important. And it's the unfortunate stigma of the single black father that that is, unfortunately, you see a lot of negatives attached to that. Um, and it's just not true. I mean, it's true that, of course, you have that, but it's not the full representation of black fathers,
Right.
whether they're single or not. You have a lot of black fathers, single black fathers, who are holding it down, stepping up, and trying to be the best person that they could be. And I've always applauded Star Trek for tackling that. And the beautiful thing was, they didn't really tackle him as a black father. They
Right.
tackled him as a single parent who's basically running the space station and holding it down with all the stress that comes with it, while having this boy that he now has to raise because his wife died and all of this. And yeah, they did tackle they did tackle the race issue on a
Yeah.
few episodes. One of the most famous episodes was
Beyond
the
the Stars.
Beyond the Stars, where they were like, all right, let's go, let's deep dive into it, and they touched on it a couple of other times towards the end when they were going to the bar.
When they were going to, I think it was Las Vegas, and
Yep,
Cisco mentions the fact that how they weren't, as African Americans, were not allowed to come to the front,
yeah,
and how he felt some kind of way about going
yeah,
and everything, and they had to come to the realization that okay, it's just a hologram. But he brought up a good point. Cisco brought up a good point,
it's
and
real.
so it really for people of color especially, of that era, and especially to me, like you said, to see like Cisco. I think the other relationship that really hit the nail for me was The Visitor, was his relationship with Jake, and you saw how much it affected their relationship. If something happened to Cisco, and how Jake had to cope with not having his father.
Right, right,
So that
yeah,
that really set the tone for me, as far as like I wanted to have a role, and also at that time when I was watching this, I was a single dad raising my daughter, and so and I was like in my early 20s and raising my daughter and all, and the
yeah,
thing is, it was just like, to me, it was like, it was inspirational to see that,
yeah,
because people needed to see that more, and
yeah,
what you do on television, on films, that crosses so many levels, because people need to see that. They're like, hey, I can do that. I can be this person. I can be that. I can be multiple characters. I can be interchangeable and still inspire others. So that has to make you feel good when you have people come to you, fans that come up to you and tell you, oh, how much they love your work and stuff. Like, do you get that often?
I get that. I get that. Yeah, quite often. And I love hearing it because again, it snaps back to how I felt when I saw a lot of these people growing up on TV, um, especially kids. I like
Mm-hmm.
if I've done something that a child would see or somebody just younger in general would see, and they say that, and yeah, it means a lot to me that they're inspired by the work, they love the work, or they just really feeling good and comfortable about what they see. And I always like to challenge myself to do something different and more and bigger. So I just continue that streak. It's a great thing. I remember my nephew asked me to come to his class one day because he was telling some of the kids that I'd done Star Trek, and they didn't believe him, and and I had gone up to visit the family up in the Bay, and he asked me. I was there for like a week, and he asked me on a Wednesday, I think. He's like, Uncle Rico, when are you leaving back to LA? And I said, well, probably going back on Friday. And he was like, oh man. I was like, what? What's going on? He was like, man, I told my classmates that you did Star Trek, and they don't believe me. And I told them, I see, maybe if I can get you to come to class. And I was like, oh man, I'm leaving on Friday, but uh, dang. All right, I tell you what. See if it's cool to come through on Friday, and screw it, I'll leave on Monday. So I ended up going to the class on Friday, ended up talking with the class and everything, and it was cool. It was cool. They asked me a ton of questions, like like they should, and like I was hoping they would, and gave my nephew a little cool, a lot of cool credits, but they liked a lot of the stuff that they knew me from a lot of the stuff beyond Star Trek, which was cool, and they really liked it, and I really it really felt good to know that because I really want, especially the youth, to really hopefully like what I do and take what I do and apply it to whatever they want to do in life in terms of the positivity and also just in terms of look, you can do anything you want to do. Doesn't matter if you're female, if you're black, it doesn't matter. Don't let those stigmas and those things that say that you can't do it or the percentages or this and that. Forget all that, man. Just go for it and try and do it and just overcome all the stuff that tells you that because you're this, you can't be that. That's not cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So I want to get into more of the science fiction part of your
Sure.
career. I want to talk about the Orville because you basically played as a Mocklin doctor on a crucial episode of the series in the first season. What was that experience like for you?
It was a little scary because of the content and because of well, if people hadn't seen the show by now, the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very risky to throw out a storyline like that because we all think that the obvious solution would be to keep the child the way the child is, but
Right.
in essence, the overall decision was to do the opposite. Um, Look, as far as the sci-fi element was concerned, it was nerd alert. It was just, I was nerding out, man. I was nerding out. I was nerding out. Ah, you know, and it was just so cool just based on that alone. Because, look, Star Trek has been around for 50 plus years. A lot of people I know has been involved in Star Trek. A lot of people I don't know has been involved in Star Trek. Star Trek is a staple in the sci-fi world. Probably the biggest. I mean, probably next to Star Wars. I mean, they're pretty up there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as a staple in the sci-fi world, Star Trek is huge. So here comes this whole new franchise called the Orville. We're on year 3 now.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen 47 years from now? But what's cool is I was involved in the first year. I am one of the. I like to say that. I mean, Peter Macon is the template for what a Mocklin is in terms of character, attitude, just all the things that define what Mocklins are all about. Because he's Bortus, he's out there, he's representing, he's holding it down. But I like to think that I'm playing a part of that characterization and the introduction of that type of character, just like Peter is and everybody else who's played Mocklins. But because Peter's there every week, he's able to really tap into all the things that 47 years from now we're going to be like, well, the Mocklins do this, well, they say that, they're not supposed to do that, oh, they're really about that, you know what I mean, for all that kind of stuff. So it's great to be a part of it. It's great to, this may sound weird, it's great to wear the prosthetic makeup again. I love that stuff, man. I love wearing all of this and having all that stuff glued to my face. And
That was something I was going to ask you to slide into and ask you about, because I was like, well, you've done all these great like characters, and I'm like, I know we've talked before about this, where you've had experience, especially with Renegades. You got a chance to be in makeup and prosthetics. Where do you have more fun at? There you go.
That's actually where I was going to touch on. I was going to say, what's more fun? It's kind of weird, but it really all depends. I mean, honestly, what's more fun is when I do get to play dress up like that with the prosthetics and stuff, because again, it's me, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in a sci-fi universe or a horror universe, because people wear prosthetics to play different characters in serious situations too, or in comedies and things like that. So you have people wearing prosthetics in all genres. Because again, it's sci-fi, and I love sci-fi as much as I do, it becomes a great thing and a fun thing. So it's kind of hard to say, because really I want my answer to just be yes to all of it. But because I love sci-fi, and I don't think I've said that enough, because people are gonna look at this interview and be like, okay, we get it, you love sci-fi. But I love wearing the prosthetics, man. I love the challenge that comes with it. I love the look that comes out of it. I love the disadvantages of it. I love the fact that during lunch I can't really eat everything that I want to eat. I can't eat sloppy joes. It'll be just my luck this sloppy joe day, and I got on Boros makeup where the mouthpiece only opens up so much, and I can't be like slapping a sloppy Joe up in my face because I'm gonna mess up the prosthetics. Yeah, just my luck. But I just love those challenges. I think one of the cool things about being an actor, and especially if you're wearing prosthetics like the two handsome gentlemen you see behind me, is a lot of the acting it can't come from facial expressions that you would normally express sometimes. A lot of it comes from the eyes, and a lot of it comes from obviously how you're saying what you're saying, how you're acting, but the eyes play such a huge part in that. You think of the Klingons and how look at Michael Dorn when he plays Worf, when he's pissed or when he's excited about something, you see those in the eyes. Robert O'Reilly, who plays Gowron, is probably one of the best examples.
Yeah.
Worf, it's like when he sees Worf, you see that coming out of him when he does it. The eyes, but what it does, because your facial expressions are going to be hidden behind the prosthetics for the most part. And so it becomes a lot more fun when you get a chance to really play in other areas and also challenging too. So, but it's also great, man, when you don't have to wear the prosthetic makeup and you can just be a human and just play you, just without anything hiding you. And sometimes the prosthetics still do allow you to project or to use facial expressions, but there's something just cool about the prosthetic makeup. I feel Doug Jones when he says that he loves doing it, but sometimes he loves to play that human. But he always says that he loves playing the characters in the prosthetic makeup. It's just fun, man. You get to really you get to pull more out of you than you realize sometimes.
Yeah. What projects do you have coming up? What films do you have coming up? I know everything kind of slowing production down on a lot of things, including the Orville. I know it's been kind of crazy far in between. What do you got coming up?
Well, it's been very challenging for the obvious reasons due to COVID and everything shutting down. Our industry is the biggest industry, or is the one that has been affected the most. And it's not to say that other industries have not been as equally affected, but our industry is one of a bunch of people together at a spot shooting something, from the actors on set to the crew surrounding. So there's a lot to consider in the age of a pandemic like what we're in. So it's been interesting. Obviously everything has been shut down and we have not really been able to do much, but things are starting to open again, and this is based on the collaboration of Hollywood and the medical and the scientific community coming together and saying, okay, this is the best way to do this if we're going to do it, and let's see what happens. So with that said, my first production since coming back from COVID has been the TV show SWAT. Okay. And I actually shot an episode of SWAT 2 years ago where I play Daniel Harrison Sr., but I play young Daniel. Oba Babatunde plays the elder Daniel Harrison, and Daniel Harrison is Shamar Moore's father on the TV show SWAT. So I play his father in flashback scenes. And we were able to come back to set, and I shot 2 weeks on set, bringing that character back. And so that's coming out soon. That's coming out actually sometime this month. I encourage your viewers to check the local listings.
Oh, my wife is a hardcore SWAT fan, so trust me.
Nice.
So trust me, she's gonna.
Okay. Then I'm not saying nothing she don't already know in terms of my character.
That's what I said. I already know she's gonna be tuned in, so she's been waiting for more episodes and all. So yeah. Oh, that's what I said. I'll tell them later and all. But you're
gonna be like the kid on Saturday morning with the cartoon. Like, it's SWAT's on. Don't talk to me. Okay, I hear you. No, that's cool. Well, it's coming back, and you know what was beautiful about it? Just a quick story on that. So the episode that I was that I shot was actually supposed to be the season 3 finale, and season 3 had 22 episodes planned, They
Okay.
had to stop at episode 21 because COVID shut everything down. And so their 21st episode ended up being the season 3 finale. So there was a question of A, would SWAT get renewed for a 4th season? And B, how would the production tackle that particular episode that never had the opportunity to be shot? So SWAT got renewed for a 4th season, and they decided to make that what was supposed to be that season finale of season 3, the season 4 premiere. And so that's what ended up happening, and that's what we ended up shooting. So that's the biggest project to date that's happening, and yeah, it'll be coming out soon. Another project that I have that I'm in pre-production for, which I'm really excited about, is a film about the Negro Leagues called,
Oh,
yeah, it's called On Smoother Dirt, and it's
okay.
about the story of Ernie Banks, who played for the Kansas City Monarchs in the Negro Leagues back
Okay.
in the day. And I play Buck O'Neill, who was the manager of the Kansas City Monarchs, and he was also one of the first black baseball players to be recruited into the major leagues. And if I remember correctly, he was recruited to the Chicago Cubs as a scout later on in his life. And so this movie is starring myself, other people who I'm not sure about yet if they're still on board, but also Louis Gossett Jr., Academy Award winner Louis Gossett Jr.,
Okay.
is playing the elder Ernie Banks. And
Nice.
so, yeah, so that's in pre-production. It's a question of when we're going to shoot it because there's been some delays in production, and then COVID just snapped everything back. It's a beautiful story, though, and it it was a fun script to read, and just to be a part of that type of history. Um, it's going to be an honor to play it, and to play with Louis Gossett Jr., who
Right.
I had the honor of meeting actually at the Pan African Film Festival this year. He was there for another movie that he had done called The Cuban. And
Okay.
I had a chance to meet Mr. Gossett after the screening, and we got a chance to talk. And I was like, Mr. Gossett, I'm playing Buck O'Neill, and we got to talking, and it was a nice first time meeting. So, yeah,
Nice.
it's gonna be great to work with him, and just be on the same billing as him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So, what advice would you give to young aspiring actors, actors of color, just overall? What advice would you give?
listen, if this is what you want to do, do it. The hell with statistics. The hell with people telling you that you can't do it. Do it. Do it. But study it and know what you're doing. Know what you're doing. Study your craft and have fun with it. And be the best. Be the best of the best. Um, Help people out. And just really do it, if anything, for the fun of it. But also do it because it's something that you believe is going to make a difference with yourself and with other people. I know a lot of that is cliche, but I also look back on the things that I remember being told, for personally experienced, and I can tell you that with the stuff that may not have worked over the stuff that has worked, the bigger picture of it all is it was worth it. It's still worth it. Like anything in life, it's a struggle, but man, I wouldn't want to do anything else. I mean, the fact that you got this guy, and me being able to play these characters and work alongside some people that I grew up watching, and now I'm able to play alongside them and just have that experience, man, that's everything. I
Yeah.
love it. And I love this
Yeah.
career, and I love what I'm doing. And the biggest thing, man, is just if that's what you want to do, man, go do it and have fun. Have fun and be the best representation you can be.
So I want to, Rico, man, that was a lot of great insight you've given and your experiences and everything. And I want to take the time to say thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Eric.
Again, man, anytime you want to come on to the show, you're more than welcome to. I definitely got to bring you back on because I want to pick your brain on go on a more deeper dive,
Let's do
especially
it.
in everything. So,
Yeah.
Rico, you're definitely on point. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure you support Rico. Rico, where can people find you at on social media?
Well, on Instagram, It's I am Rico Anderson. Actually, it's I am Rico Anderson on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay.
And also, I have a website, ricoanderson.com. And follow me, please, on Instagram. And just yeah, whenever you're on the gram or on Facebook, look me up, see what's going on. Sometimes a lot of stuff's happening. Sometimes it gets a little slow, but rest assured, I'm always working towards the next big thing and the next big project. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everyone, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends and family, and make sure you tune in for another new episode at the upcoming Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I always
Woo!
end my show, make every step you take a planetary one. We'll see you next week.